All right, guys, what's going on? Josh Culler here with my new friend, Eric Brewer.
Man.
What's going on, man?
Spent a day in Pennsylvania.
York, Pennsylvania?
York, Pennsylvania.
For some reason, I kept saying Harrisburg. I don't know why.
Pennsyltucky,
There's
some people call it.
Pennsyltucky. That's good. I mean, you're calling people hillbillies out here, so.
We have hillbilly tendencies. We are advanced. We have lots of wonderful people here, but we tend to be, myself included, a little bit behind some of the major cities that are not far from here, Philadelphia, Baltimore. They're a little more advanced than we are, but we like things at a little slower pace.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna put this out as our REI Marketing Weekly podcast. We'll talk marketing, but also just kind of pick your brain on specific things, operations and the business. I mean, you've got a monster business here, which is I'm super impressed with. Doing between the two offices, you guys got over 600 deals projected this year, right?
Yeah.
So just gonna pick your brain here and hopefully bring some value to people that are listening and watching this. Post this on Facebook, YouTube, and everything. So first of all, just do me a favor, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about the business numbers that you guys got going on, just kind of like we were in the Porsche talking about it. So
my name's Eric Brewer. I'm with CR Property Group and Integrity First Home Buyers. We run an operation out of York, Pennsylvania. We also have an office in Baltimore County, Northern Maryland. We do about 200 turnkeys a year out of each location. Then we do a mix of wholesale business in each of those markets as well. And then we also have a retail team of agents in both states. They help conventional buyers and sellers. We do a substantial business as well in both of those markets, in our Keller Williams market and office in Maryland and our Keller Williams office and market here. We're normally number one or number two in units.
Wow.
For each of those offices. We do a big business. Most of it is turnkey acquisitions, renovations, and then sale. But we do a little mix of some fix and flip, good bit of wholesale in there, and then a fair amount of retail business as well.
That's insane. So what's your favorite type of deal? Is it wholesaling? Is it turnkey? Is it flip?
I would say turnkey probably now, because it's relatively new for us. We've been at it for just shy of just over a year. So it's cool to me to see the opportunity. A year and a half ago, we were not doing turnkey, wasn't really of interest to me, and we were doing mostly fix and flip. So we took the 200 fix and flips that we were doing previously, and we've now just moved that time, energy, and resources over to turnkey. So that particular model is far more appealing to me. There's a very large buyer base out there that likes quality renovated properties that are professionally managed. And the nature of the transaction's a little bit different than working with a retail fix and flip client. And then I like the wholesale business is probably neck and neck right there with the turnkey business. One of the things that's pretty, I think, important to me in this business is the ability to be able to help people. And on the acquisition side, we're definitely able to see the immediate value that we bring to a transaction. If someone's got a property that they want to sell that is creating some hardship for them, whether it be financially or just it's tough for them to maintain, or maybe it's just mentally a lot for them to carry. You can see it almost instantly. Like when we make the offer and they accept, there's a big relief, and you can see the weight off their shoulders. The other part of the business with wholesaling and then selling to turnkey investors, I think the amazing part for me that really gives me a lot of gratification is helping people build wealth, helping people sometimes retire. Or
you're helping them build their legacies.
Yeah, I mean, most of our turnkey clients it's like a race for them to get to a place where they have enough income from their rental portfolio to either change their lifestyle, right? Where now they were making X amount of dollars in their primary career, combined with the tax savings and the income from their turnkey, or how can I get to a place to where I acquire enough properties where I can replace my full-time income and then have this as a backup. One of the big things right now for people is if they have a loss of income, if you have rental properties, you're going to have the opportunity to continue to collect that income. So I really like being able to work with sellers and help them through a tough patch or to sell a property. Then I love working with investors to watch them build their portfolio and buy a property they're going to fix and flip and make tens of thousands of dollars on. Those relationships are really important to me.
So while we were on the porch, you were on the phone with one of your acquisitions guys talking through deals.
Yes.
So are you pretty hands-on with your team? You got 40 team members. We're in the office right now. Beautiful office here.
Yeah, thank you. This particular section,
this looks like a co-working space.
Yeah, cool. That's what it was designed for, because the other 3/4 of this building were set up like a conventional office.
Yeah,
it's like offices, and you got some meeting spaces.
Yeah,
this was really chopped up, and there was like 6 offices jammed in this space. So when this became available in the building, my vision for this space was to create an open environment where people can, most of our salespeople gravitate up here. They're full time fixed positions for our phone people. So,
have you seen any benefit out of setting it up like this?
Everybody, even that works in the other parts of the building, always seems to
come up here. Yeah.
This big table behind me, everybody seems to kind of gravitate and meet there. Salespeople naturally like to be around other people.
Yeah.
They feed a lot off of that energy. So our salespeople love it up here. Our phone salespeople, inside sales associates, all love to get up here, and they feed off of the energy that comes out of this room. Because at any given time, we might have 10, 12 people working in here.
Wow.
Talking on the phones, negotiating deals. They're up walking around, working deals. Whether it's selling a property to an investor or negotiating a fair price to buy a house from a seller.
It's like the bullpen.
It is. It's kind of like the boiler room, so to speak. If you've ever seen that movie, one of the better sales movies of all times that in my opinion. But they had a room like that where it was just literally a bunch of people in one room, and they were just working, and the energy is just something pretty cool.
So we're recording this. I'm gonna try to put this video out pretty quickly. Actually, we're recording this. It's the last Friday of March.
Yes.
So we're in this whole pandemic stage right now. So obviously, vitamin C, social spacing here. But we're in this weird spot right now. When I first came in, you showed me the office and everything, and I think there's only one person here, so you got most of your team working remotely right now.
Virtual right
How has that kind of impacted the business? Virtually, as opposed to what you just explained, where there's 15 people up here.
So we've that's the one thing we have put a lot of focus behind, is recognizing that our whole staff, I think, appreciates the environment that we've created in our office.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably a little more essential to our salespeople.
Sure.
Like the people that work on the fixed operations side of our business. Human interaction on a daily basis is not something they need.
So you're thinking about extrovert versus introverted people.
So what we're really putting a focus on is we have daily huddles with all of our teams. So there's at least 15 to 20 minutes worth of interaction, and we use Zoom. We're using video conferencing, so people are able to see each other. We don't allow people to put up there and have the no picture. We want your video.
You gotta see the faces. Yeah.
Even if you got bedhead and toothpaste still on your face.
That's your choice.
And we've seen a big benefit to that, just that engagement, trying to cut back on phone calls and go everything to video conferencing, making sure that with our salespeople, even with clients, when we're making offers on properties, we've made deals via FaceTime, so that we're able to see the client, see the property.
That's
they can
interesting.
see us, because I think one of the things.
What's your take on? Are you getting pushback from sellers about that, or are they just more than happy to do it?
I had an opinion the other day. I said that I think we've gone to in-person appointments more for our need, not the sellers. I don't know how important it is for the seller to meet you and for you to tour their house and for you to be there. I think for us, in-person appointments was for us, because we wanted to feel comfortable making an offer on the property.
Absolutely.
And naturally,
because you're not just wholesaling it, you're going to be selling it to somebody that's putting this in their portfolio.
So every property that we make an offer on, we intend to renovate.
Right.
Right. So when we look at the deal, we're looking at the deal as if I were renovating it and buying it and reselling it. And then once we bring it into our inventory based on the amount of homes that we have under renovation, based on the demand that we're seeing from our wholesale buyers, based on the demand that we're seeing from our turnkey buyers, we'll make a decision about what our exit strategy is. But we go into every deal really starting with the intent of buying it, closing on it, paying for it, fixing it, and then reselling.
But I imagine that helps it helps you make sure you get a deal that's going to work. So you probably don't come across a lot of mistake deals or deals where you are underwater with it and it's not going to turn out good. I mean, you have one
often. I mean, every once in a while, we'll come across a non-conforming deal where it's just really hard to lock in what it's worth, whether ARV wise or as is. But we'll communicate that with the seller and say, hey, listen, we can make you an offer. We need some due diligence here. Let's take about 2 weeks and let us dig a little bit deeper into this deal, or we'll just pass on it. We between the two offices, we generate north of 600 seller leads a month. So we're
going to talk about that here in a second too. So.
We try not to get into a deal if it doesn't make sense. I mean, every once in a while we'll come across something.
You're not scraping for deals because you got that many leads coming in.
I mean, we work hard for every deal, but I'm not trying to make a deal out of something that doesn't appear to be a deal.
Right.
I mean, it's we've been at this long enough, almost 15 years, that what looks like a deal, talks like a deal, walks like a deal is a deal, and if it doesn't, chances are it's not.
That's good.
And we don't want to put, because it takes the same amount of time for our dispositions people to try and sell a bad property as it does a good property. So why put their time and energy behind trying to peddle these non-conforming deals that don't have enough equity, or the renovation costs are too high for the numbers to make sense? We don't want to have them peddling bad deals and trying to put a lot of time and energy behind a deal that just doesn't make sense.
Sure.
So we're pretty selective about what we put under contract. We'll make an offer on anything. But if the numbers don't appear to be make sense numbers, then we try and be pretty disciplined with not making the deal.
That's good. So we're going to get into marketing stuff here in just a second. I do want to pick your brain from experience, right? So you've been in this for 15 years. Obviously, tracking back, you went through the 08, 09 era, but even in between that 15-year span, there's been a couple other market correction cycles that weren't as big as 08. But what we're going through right now, obviously, it's taking a hit on a lot of different industries, not just real estate. I mean, we always think about real estate. People have been talking about a downturn or a market cycle for since 2008. Like, when is this going to happen again? And did we ever imagine it'd be a virus that caused something like this? And I know there's a lot of investors maybe listening right now that are experiencing, they're just taking a massive hit right now. For you guys, I know you closed 8 deals this week, something like that.
Like contracts.
So I mean, how is this whole thing impacting the business, if at all? And what advice would you give to people?
I would tell you
for this.
One thing, and I did a video on this the other day, was if you have any existing inventory, one thing we did is the instant that we saw this kind of unfolding, we went through our existing inventory that was for sale and made pretty responsible price reductions.
So you were proactive on this.
I mean,
from
as
the
soon
get,
as
or like
I can admit to you that 2 months ago,
you didn't think it was anything.
I didn't think it was going to have this size impact. I mean, I knew it was something serious. It had been serious in other places before it got to our backyard. But it was, I think, for me, when the NBA closed down, then I was like, okay.
I mean, multi-billion-dollar business.
And then it was like a domino effect, right? It was boom, 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 and all the professional sports followed thereafter. Now each individual state has taken some measure of action to reduce the interaction. Here for us, we applied with the governor for clarity on what was considered a business that was able to operate and what was considered a business that wasn't able to continue to operate. And Fortunately for us, we got direct confirmation back from the governor's office that our businesses were able to remain open.
That's good.
Part of that when we applied to get clarity was we've gone to almost a completely virtual model. People may come into the office to pick up supplies or drop stuff off or use a copier or a fax. But you can see here, I mean, today, Friday at this time,
2 o'clock.
Yeah, we would have a just
Full house.
40 people.
Yeah.
And 37 of them would be in here. So we're all working virtually. You and I came here to use the office space today, but you've been here. We saw what, maybe one person come
Yeah,
in?
one person, yeah.
So we've been working virtually. We've shifted to now making 95% of our offers to sellers are happening over the phone.
Does your team like that better, or is it too early to tell? I mean,
I think
how are they thinking about this?
It's new. It's like a new shiny toy for them. I think they were a little skeptical at first because we've just always done it.
Now you're forced into it.
Way. We're a big subscriber to John Martinez's training and sales, processes. And for us, and anybody that's watching, or even does a good job with acquisitions, I think you'd agree that the time that you spend with the client up front, really getting to know who they are, what's put them in the position they're considering selling. Every situation comes with unique challenges, and our real task is to figure out not how much we can pay for the house, but our people really focus on what is the challenge, what's the problem, and what is the most efficient way for me to solve it. And then the conversation about pricing is almost just a formality at that point. So for them, I think it was difficult to imagine doing that over the phone.
But now their skills are improved.
Yes.
If they can get through this and actually close deals, their skills are improved.
We're already having the conversation about modifying our business model, even once we go back to the ability to meet in person, and try to wrap our head around what that would look like, how that would change in our lead management process.
That'd be interesting.
It may allow us, it undoubtedly allows us to make, because we operate in 8 counties in Pennsylvania, and then the Baltimore area is just, you can go from one side of Baltimore County to the city to the other side of the county. It can take an hour and a half in a car.
Sure.
So if you go from one appointment, you could have maximum maybe 4 appointments a day and you're done. Well, here we can have phone appointments with each acquisitions agent can probably effectively have 6 meaningful conversations with sellers a day. Our phone call with a seller when we make an offer should be about a 35 to 50 minute phone call.
Sure.
Right? Where if you have an appointment and it's, on the, let's say Dauphin County for us, which is, maybe a 35-minute ride. And then you have a 45-minute appointment or an hour appointment and a 40-minute ride home. I mean, you're talking about, 2.5 hours or 2 hours plus of time versus now you've effectively cut each of your appointments in half.
Yeah, so that works. It's just a matter of maybe making it more efficient.
It's only, again, I think it's only different to us.
Sure.
I don't think sellers really, because most of them
I've never thought of that. That makes sense.
But sellers have never sold a home. Most people haven't sold a house to a cash buyer before anyway, not an investor, not a home buyer.
And a lot of your demographic, they probably owned the house for a very long time, so they've never sold before.
They've never
right.
sold a house,
They've
period.
never sold.
So for them, is it different than what they expected? Maybe, but they don't see that it's that big of a difference. They don't understand or even maybe believe that it's different than what they would have expected if you told them otherwise. So it's our clients have been very receptive to it. I think they appreciate the fact, not just because of the social distancing and our need to make sure that we're not going in and out of homes. If you think about that, like an average acquisition agent for us will do 4 appointments a day.
Come in contact with
days, they would have
good
been
amount
in
of
and out
people.
40 homes. And, you talk about the people that would have been in and out of those 40 homes. It could be big numbers.
No idea.
So I think sellers are receptive to it because of the unique circumstances we're in right now with the virus. But I think also for them, one of the more challenging things about selling a property is having someone come into your house, go through a 45-minute or hour-long conversation with a stranger, negotiate, and then potentially not make a deal. Most people will look at that as a waste of time.
Yeah.
So now if you're only taking up 35 minutes of their time or 45 minutes of their time, and you didn't come into their home, just coming into somebody's house is a little invasive. Some people are a little standoffish about it. They might be embarrassed about the condition.
Yeah,
They'll gladly tell you about the condition, but their body language changes. They're just a little more guarded when you're there, and we try, but we make it very clear to people that no matter how bad you think your house is, chances are we've seen 10 times worse.
Sure.
And but I think customers are very receptive to it. With iBuyers and all that stuff that's been a hot topic lately. Most of their models are data-driven offers anyway, and from my understanding, they haven't really been active anywhere close to here. But the offer was almost instant.
Yep.
And it was based
they're all
on a
shut
data
down right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
But they were doing it, right? And I think the client was very receptive to that, because they could quickly decide whether or not you were a good fit.
Oh yeah.
So when you're having a phone conversation and you're gravitating and moving towards pricing conversations, if it doesn't sound like it's a fit, the seller, the client can quickly say, you know what, that's not a good move for me. I'm going to move in a different direction. So I think for us, will we shift completely to an over the phone model? Probably not, but maybe 50-50.
Maybe implement it a little bit more. I'm interested, so I'm thinking here, like, I need to, coming back here maybe like 6 months from now or sooner or whatever, like seeing how you guys have changed after this thing's blown over. Like, I'm interested to see what that turns out to be.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't.
I mean, there's, I think we will. Here's the simple math of it is if you make more offers, you get more deals.
Right.
And I think there's times now where, even prior to COVID-19, where people didn't invite you out to their home for one reason or another. And so you did make an offer. Yeah. Well, now, if you don't need to go to the house to make an offer, you're going to make offers on leads before that you were not making offers on, and you're going to get deals out of it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about that again, maybe on down the road, because it's to see how you guys have adjusted after this thing's blown over. So we're going to spend the last few minutes here talking about marketing stuff, because you guys, it's a machine here. I mean, this is a real estate factory. When it comes to marketing, how many leads a month did you say you have coming in?
So we
on average
about 350 to 400 here, and roughly 200 to 250 in our Maryland office.
That's incredible. So talk to us a little bit about what you got going on. So I know you guys market. You do a lot of different marketing channels. There's a couple of things that I'm intrigued with that you do. I mean, we drove by a couple of your billboards, and then the commercials for TV too, for the local channels. Like you said, you get high results on that. And the reason why this is important, and I want him to talk about this, is because I even asked you earlier today, what's your average demographic of age-wise of sellers, and you said 55. And you got to understand, 55-year-olds, they're still listening to radio. They're still intrigued with billboards. They're still watching local commercials because they're watching Wheel of Fortune or whatever. Like, that's important to understand. That's why it's so important to understand and know your audience. So talk to us a little bit about marketing, what you guys got going on to bring that many leads in.
Yeah, I mean, we really cut our teeth in direct-to-seller marketing with direct mail. I mean, just out of this one office, we were doing 75,000 pieces of mail a month. We were hitting targeted lists, we were hitting niche lists, we were hitting, broad lists based on, just locations. I mean, we were mailing. If you had a pulse on a property and we thought you might have had equity, we were mailing you.
Are you still getting results from that?
We've become much more targeted.
Okay.
So
you're not as broad. You're just.
Yeah, I'll give you like a 30,000 foot view. We spend the majority of our money on television. Our second biggest expense would be direct mail, and then a couple other, we do a little bit on Facebook. Nothing paid. We do a lot of stuff like this where, we do a weekly real estate show where I get together, we do a Facebook Live, typically have a guest, and we'll cover what we think is a popular topic. This past week we did one on how to remain productive while on lockdown. And we talked a lot about, some hacks about, how to keep your mindset in a good place. We talked about some logistical things about, Zoom and Google Meetup and Microsoft Teams and how to do a huddle and all that good stuff. And then we just shared a little bit of what our experiences have been. So we do some Facebook stuff, but much more organic than we do any type of paid advertising, but we do some targeted Facebook ads, but television for us is about 6 months old, and that is where we're seeing.
This is interesting. So let's dive deep into that.
By the way, billboards. So I only did billboards because I was doing television.
Sure.
Because I thought billboards by themselves would be ineffective.
Right.
I thought the billboards, and if you look at, which you got a couple pictures of, that image on the billboard is what opens on our television ad.
Okay, that's
so
beautiful.
For me it was,
I love that.
I see this television
consistency
ad, and I think we spend $15,000 a month. I'm only using it as a point of reference. In our market, that's a ton of commercials.
Oh yeah.
So we're getting a lot of repetition. People are seeing us, particularly now because a lot of people are glued to their television. Like our cost per lead right now on television's down to like $50. That's a lead,
incredible.
Which is super inexpensive.
So talk to us about like the actual ad that you put out. Like what's the messaging? I mean,
it's like a used car ad.
Yeah.
It's not. We split tested. We had one that was very, dramatic. I don't say dramatic, but it told a story. It was, we talked about the experience and all that stuff, and we got a decent response from it. The best response we get is, "I'll buy your house today, cash, as is, call now." That gets the best response. So not real sexy, so to speak.
Interesting, yeah.
Pretty bare bones. And the company that we work with that does our marketing, shout out Bullseye Branding, Darren out of the Phoenix market, came from television. So he runs the whole front end interface of our CRM. So he tracks our leads as they come in from television.
Awesome.
He tracks what commercial they came in. Did they come in through the web? Did they call? So he's constantly tweaking and moving the placement of our ads based on where we see the response. Which before I did television about 10 years ago, we would buy 30, 60, 90 days in advance. And then you would measure your response, but you were predetermined where your spots were going to be by network and show and placement.
Yeah.
So you lack the ability to be able to be a little more nimble.
Yeah.
And the company that we're working with now is literally we buy 5 days in advance, 6 days in advance. So, and it's based off of the previous weeks.
Yeah.
So if we see something's gaining traction in one place, we'll shift more marketing dollars there for television, run more spots on that particular station versus something else.
So you're going hard at it right now?
Yeah.
Because people are quarantined, and you guys just got the order today.
Yes, yeah.
Just
So Pennsylvania's officially, I don't know what it's called. So again, we won't have much of an impact on our business because we are considered essential, or whatever the terminology is. So our business, our property management business and maintenance, our real estate business, again with us working virtually, has the approval to continue to operate. So I mean that's a blessing that we're able to do that. We haven't laid off a single person. Everybody's still working and moving along, and obviously we hope that sooner than later this will all be conversation behind us.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about historical events, not current events,
things we learned about.
But we're just taking it day. I mean, so to answer your question, I guess the short version, we're taking it day by day, just trying to make adjustments.
Yeah.
Each day as new information is available to us, and the market has been very receptive. Sellers are still calling. If anything, you're going to see some people that might have been on the fence about selling. This may shift them to one side of the fence or the other, right? That now, know what, I'm going to make a decision to get rid of that property. I don't want the responsibility. So as long as we're able to continue to offer that service that we've promised, we've seen that sellers are are still interested. And then again, buyers at this point, we have seen a little shift with wholesale buyers that are intending to fix and flip. Our core group of people we visited with, a good customer of mine today, he was busy, right? He was
Awesome dude.
just bought a property yesterday. He's not slowing down.
Yeah.
Some of the secondary buyers maybe that were doing onesies, twosies, part-time, I think will slow down, mainly because we've seen a shift in funding. A lot of hard money lenders have paused, not stopped. They've paused lending for the time being. So you're going to see certain people that work with hard money as their primary source, if not exclusive source of funding.
Sure.
It's going to have an impact on them. But yeah, and then last week I was telling you about TV. We had one of the networks call us and say, "Hey, what do you think about 100 commercials for $1,000?" So we said
we've got some spots for you.
And so I mean, a lot of people are glued more to their television. I mean, for like the first week, I was fixated on it. I mean, I was on my phone. I wanted to know minute by minute. I have my own personal opinion now about how this is, I think, going to pan out.
Sure.
So I don't feel, and then we're almost at the point now where not much is going to change unless it's like complete lockdown.
Right.
Like
martial law.
I mean, I think that's it. So I mean, they've slowly and strategically taken steps in each state and on a national level to start to close down non-essential businesses, to encourage people and educate people about social distancing. And I mean, I wash my hands now. I mean, literally every time I get up and walk somewhere, I wash my hands. So I think that's going to have a big impact on the results that we see. I have a ton of confidence in just the American, public to generally want to do the right thing for the most part, particularly when you're talking about life or death situations. Everybody operates with a different set of standards and morals, but when you're talking about life or death, I think most people, and for me, I can tell you, as our business has remained open, our primary focus has been being responsible. And if you look around, there's Lysol wipes, there's
being responsible with your team, with your buyers, the people that you serve,
clients. Like no one comes. We take it. One of the things we did for all of our tenants is we waived credit card fees. So anybody that wants to pay, because they might have physically had to go to the bank,
right,
cash or I guess people still write checks. We don't. I pay most of my stuff online, but a lot of tenants would like to come in and they would drop off a check in person. They would drop off rent and cash. So we gave them the ability to pay by credit card, and we're waiving, it's like a 3% fee or 4% fee.
Sure.
So we're trying to make it easier for people.
It's $30 or $40. That means a lot right now to a renter.
Bucks. Yeah, I mean it's and it always does for everybody. $30 is $30.
Yeah.
Right? I should make a T-shirt out of that. But yes, I mean we've done everything that we've been advised to and asked to. As we remain in business, to remain responsible, and hopefully we've done our part, and it'll have a big impact on the overall outcome.
Absolutely. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. I got one more question for you, a little bit of a deep question. So from the 2008 era, right? So we're going through, obviously not something that, I don't know, maybe your thoughts are it's as big, or obviously that one was driven off of financials and then went into directly real estate crash. But is there any similarities between that couple of year span to what we're going through right now that you can see?
I think the initial shock is about the same, right? Like the attention that it's getting, I think, is of similar, if not greater size.
Do you think that's just because of social media and modern day media and that kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think it certainly plays. I mean, if you just think back to 2008, we wouldn't be doing this.
No.
So there's just more access to information.
You got to go on your desktop to check Facebook.
So I think there's more access to information today than there was before. I mean, there's people that are glued to social media that know more than I ever would think they would know about science and
Dude, there's so many there's so many COVID-19 professionals on Facebook right now.
Because there's just more access to information, and I mean, sometimes you empower people with information. It can sometimes what do they say? I know just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think the one thing that's much different is that we went into this on a very stable base. I mean, the economy was thriving. So if you think about it as like a Jenga, I'm making this up as I go along, but I think it's a good analogy that at the top right now, there's some pieces that are shifted and disheveling, right?
Yeah.
And each time that each week goes by and we get more news and they pull pieces apart, you have things that, I was watching today, like, one of the big franchises was basically very upfront and was like, hey, we're not going to be able to pay our commercial lease payments because there was a restaurant business because they're shut down.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is we know what it looks like when you come out the other side.
Sure.
I think in 2008, and by the way, I was 2 years in business. I don't remember much about it because I'd only been in the business for 2 years, so I didn't know how much different it was, and we were a relatively small company back then compared to now, so we were very nimble. We got into installment sales agreements and owner financing, so we were still able to buy properties. It actually got easier to buy. The challenge was selling to the conventional buyer because financing was so difficult. And I was fortunate enough to have a partner that had the liquidity that we weren't reliant on commercial loans and lines of credit that we could continue buying. And we had willing buyers to buy our back then we were only doing fix and flip. But we had people with literally 670 credit scores that couldn't get a mortgage. Wow. So we did installment sales agreements. We had relationships with banks where once we had a buyer, they would lend us, the money at 4%. We were lending it, 7 to 10% on installment sales agreements. So over the course of from 2008 to 2011, we had built a portfolio of installment sales agreements of over 150 properties. And so that kind of, we didn't experience probably it as much as everybody else.
Sure.
We were able to. We had the ability to kind of pivot and go over there. Buying became really easy. Selling was really where you had to have your stuff dialed in. You either had to be people were still buying, but they were buying at drastically reduced rates. They had to have better credit than ever before. They had to have higher down payments than ever before. The 80-20 loans went away. 100% financing went away. Now lenders were learning FHA when they had never really done FHA for 15 years because they didn't have to. So some of the properties we're selling, we were exposed to things like seasoning requirements. So if you bought it and flipped it, you couldn't sell it for 90 days. We were learning that stuff as we went along. I think for me, I have probably a lot more optimism now about working through this than I might have back in 2008, partially just because I've been in business long enough.
For that long,
I can't say that we built our business specifically to sustain a virus that nobody knew about 6 months ago. I'd be lying if I told you that. But part of moving towards a turnkey model for us was understanding that buyer, that model, point blank, period, is if this has an impact on the resale market, those people still need to live somewhere. So what's that going to do to rents? It's the same thing you saw in 2008. If you go back and you look historically, and I've never done it, but if you look at when rents started to increase, I'm going to guess it had a lot to do with 2008 because there was a lot of people that wanted to buy a home and couldn't buy for whatever reason.
But they have to have a place to live.
They have to have a place to live. So I think, I believe that although it may be a mild or a slightly different version of normal as we knew it 3 weeks ago, I think we're going to get back to normal relatively quick. 90 days or so, and in phases. But when I look at our turnkey model, I'm talking about 80% of our business is turnkey. The upside is it's 80% of my business. The other part of that is if the rest of my business goes away, we could shift some expenses, shift some personnel. Maybe we now grow that portion of our business by reallocating resources. So I'm pretty optimistic about our business. Wholesaling, I think right now is going to be challenging.
It is.
Just because the volume of buyers that are out there, the people that have really solid processes in place and know how to lead gen and know how to buy at the right numbers. We just visited a cash buyer that closed on a property yesterday. he's going to continue to buy.
Yes.
Right? So, but he's going to continue to buy it in numbers that make sense, and those numbers that make sense are, I think, going to be a little different than they were before.
Sure.
So I think, we've had the luxury that in this thriving real estate market for the last, how long's it been now?
5, 6, 7, 8 years.
It's just like the most incredible run ever. But
I know when I first got into it 7 years ago, it was in its prime.
yeah,
I mean,
it's each year's gotten better.
Yeah.
Like, supposedly. So for me, I think what's going to happen is it's going to impact some people that were able to do business and do deals in spite of not having the best processes in place, in spite of maybe not having a good culture and things like that. But now is the time, particularly if you're not operating, I would encourage you, I think you asked me about any advice I would give, is use this time, because you've been so busy doing business, and if your business is slowing, prepare for the recovery and tighten up processes, right? Tighten up your staff.
so you're saying work on the business.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's one of the more challenging things when we're busy is you never get a chance to do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't rear its ugly head until a time like this.
That's right.
If your expenses were out of whack 3 weeks ago, you might not have cared because you were doing enough business and enough volume to offset it. But now and now your hand is forced to make those changes, which never feels as good as doing it proactively.
Right.
Because one thing that can always cure heavy expense is just to buy more, sell more. It's just you can be profitable and not be responsible. I think this will force our hand to take a long, hard look at your business and become more efficient with processes and people and spending. Where people were just throwing out tons of direct mail and spending all this money and doing deals and wholesaling and doing all this stuff, which is awesome. It's great to be able to be in an economy like that.
Yeah.
But I think we've all, especially me, it's opened my eyes just how quickly something. Because 2008, you started to see some signs. I mean,
Construction stopped.
There was some writing on the wall. I mean, this was abrupt, very abrupt. I mean, this is the equivalent of an act of war. I mean, from really a surprise attack.
Yeah.
No one saw this coming. And in 2008, it wasn't like one day it felt in the financial sector, but it took probably a year for that to really progress and get to its worst place in the real estate market. I mean, this was boom.
It was
in one day. It stopped. Like in Pennsylvania, if you have a property on the market and it's a flip or whatever, agents are unable to go out and show homes.
Yep.
So all that inventory is just sitting. It's not selling. They've allowed lending and appraisals and things that support existing transactions to continue. So luckily, any transactions that were already sold, will get to settlement, barring any other change of circumstances for the buyers or sellers. But then back to Turnkeys, for us, none of our people come and look at our properties anyway.
Yeah.
They're making decisions based off of the quality of the construction, the cap rates, the cash on cash return, and then our existing relationship and reputation that we have with quality of construction, being solid operators for 15 years. And then our property management practices, which will be tested here soon. I mean, it's for certain that rent payments are. It's a conversation. It's going to be a topic of conversation in the next couple weeks here.
I was going to say we'll find out here probably next week, late next week, early 2 weeks from now.
I have to figure it out.
Yeah, just make it happen. Well, dude, I appreciate it. It's so many nuggets, so much valuable content that was in this. We're going to chop it up for you too.
I had a lot of fun, man. The videos were cool and all that stuff, and I appreciate us just having a couple minutes here to chat and talk shop, and enjoyed it very much.
So I know I said I was going to leave one last question. But I got one last question for you. So not saying anything with me, obviously you brought me out here because I've got a reputation, I've done business with people that and whatnot. Why did you decide to pull the trigger on doing video content for marketing?
So for me, it's because I've seen, I've tried to do it and I've done it on my own. I mean, I do some stuff. I got a mount in the car. I go Facebook Live 2 or 3 times a day. Now
you have a handheld one, wherever that is.
That's in the car. And we've seen some response. I mean, there's an awareness. I actually did a presentation in one of the mastermind groups that we're in about the results that we've seen directly from not just video, but video placement on social media, and how it's basically, the terminology that I used was how it's extended my referral network. Where typically referrals come from people that you have an immediate face-to-face relationship with.
Yeah.
Right? And then what I found is that, how many friends do you have on Facebook? I got 4,700. I probably know 700 of them directly.
Right.
And I probably communicate with on a regular basis 50 of them.
Yeah.
So those 50 people is normally who you get referrals from. What I found is with doing videos, and then, and I did everything live. So most of my stuff was just, on the way to work, I'd talk about a real estate topic, or I'd talk about, something related to leadership that I've learned. I talked about an exciting part of our business that was developing and happening quickly that I was excited about. Or I would also show, certain things about my personal life where, we're at home and I'm having a conversation with my wife and I feel people might get a kick out of it or whatever. They've seen my kids fight on Facebook Live. They've seen my wife give me the dirty eye while she's folding laundry, and her hair wasn't the way she would want it if she was going to be on video. I'm at my son's basketball games. And so the point is that I think when you take the business aspect of it and then you combine it with a little bit of the personal aspect, what I've seen personally for me, it's expanded my referral network, and it went from 50 people to 5,000 people, because people now feel like they know me because they've heard from me, right? And then video is the next best thing to sitting across from me. We're talking about it right now, like, again, our huddles and our meetings and our strategic sessions and all that stuff that we would normally have in person, we've had now virtually, and I can tell you that there's been minimal to no loss of momentum for us by doing it by video conferencing or Zoom or whatever it is that people are using. So yeah, I mean, it's been extraordinary for us, and what I wanted to do is just wanted to put more behind it.
Sure.
We shot 15, 18 videos today.
We got to 18, yeah.
Yeah, so we put out a bunch of content, and then just that stuff is, not timeless, but it has the ability, it's got longer shelf life,
right.
Where, after you work your magic on it, it's, it'll have the ability to be out there and live and work and communicate and talk to people on a consistent basis. And then we'll probably, I don't know, I'm probably going to want to do this twice a year just because it's...
Refresh it, yeah.
It just gets stale.
Yeah.
So, I'm a big believer in it, and I've seen the results already by a novice like myself holding my phone here, and so yeah, we wanted to step our game up a little bit, put some more focus behind it, and I feel that's what we've accomplished today. I'm excited to see the results.
Good stuff. So something real quick, just one last tip here that you mentioned to me earlier that you're going to be doing is bringing on an intern to do some videos for you, which is, I think, a genius. I tell people that all the time, and only two. So I've had this conversation with probably 50 people, and only 2 people that I know of have actually pulled the trigger on hiring an intern. Not really even hiring, just like, hey, come learn from me, do video, craft your skill here, like, and that kind of thing. And they come work. Actually, Gary's son Jake interned for me for about 6 or 7 months. That's awesome. Learned all of his video skills from the base of his video skills from that. But I think that's a really good tip. I mean, most people are out of school right now anyway until the end of the year. But like going into the summer, if you're looking for video, if you're close to like a college campus or even high school, like you probably know somebody, or at least know somebody that knows somebody that's interested in doing video. Like, get that. I think that was a great idea to do that. I'm glad you're doing that. So anyway, dude, it was good.
Appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Thanks,
Fifth Pound, and you guys make sure you connect with Eric. I'll link everything below to connect with him. I know you're close on your friend's cap, but
I've been cleaning some of that up here lately.
Purging it.
Yeah, so I've done.
You can still follow him on
I've done
Facebook.
Some housekeeping, More Integrity First Home Buyers and CR Property Group. Most of our real estate related content that originates on my personal page, we share out to those business pages. So we're pretty visible.
We'll have that link below. All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it. See you guys.